Have you ever left a protest and felt two things at the same time? Like, I'm proud I showed up, but also, now what? Because believe me, I've been there. You chant, you march, you hold the sign, maybe you make a donation, maybe you post a few photos online, and then you wake up the next day and the awful headlines are still the same. The regime is still the regime, and everyday people, including those in your own community, are still getting hurt. And in many of us, it creates this quiet, nauseating question. Is protesting actually doing anything? So let me say this carefully. Protesting matters. Public pressure matters. Bearing witness, it matters. But protesting alone is not a strategy. And if you're someone who really cares very deeply about what's happening and you have skills that could be put to good use, and you're only using them to show up sporadically, well, it's going to start to feel like your activism isn't working. Not because you don't care, but because you're not using the skills that you have to offer to the fullest extent possible to fight back. And so today, I'm going to show you how to shift from I show up to I move the needle. I'm Elizabeth Cronise McLaughlin, and I've spent the last 15 years training leaders in organizing and how to make a real difference. I'm a lifelong activist and a former human rights lawyer, and I've watched the same pattern over and over again. People who care deeply get stuck at the level of reaction. But when those folks get the support they need and they're given some structure, they become unstoppable. And if you're listening to this and you're thinking, yeah, I'm done with just reacting and I want to plan for how I can actually make a real difference in the face of what we're dealing with, I want to invite you to book a Ripple Effect Institute discovery call. Seriously, come talk to us. We'll help you get clear on what you're meant to lead in this time to make a difference, what's realistic with your time and your daily life, and how to be a part of an initiative that actually creates measurable community impact for good. The link to book your Ripple Effect Institute discovery call is below. Okay, now I want to talk about the part that nobody wants to say out loud, and that's why protesting alone is not enough. So first, I want to acknowledge that protesting can feel really powerful. As someone who, at one point in my life, organized a mass mobilization in 800 cities worldwide, I know that protesting can feel like it's doing something. And part of that is because protesting is an amplifier. They can amplify a sense of outrage, amplify a sense of community. But the thing that they're not is an engine. Let's go a little bit deeper on that issue for a minute. A protest can really amplify an issue. It signals urgency, it can build solidarity, and certainly some protests can actually shift culture. And yes, when they're really big, they can create real political pressure. But an amplifier doesn't tell you what to do next. It doesn't automatically create a program or a coalition or a mutual aid network or a voter protection program. It doesn't create a fundraising pipeline to actually get things done, and it doesn't ordinarily create a leadership bench in your own community. So if the only lever that you're pulling is the amplifier and you're not doing anything else, eventually it will start to feel like you're shouting into the wind. And here's where it gets really personal, especially for people who are very skilled in other areas of their lives. If you're someone who's used to being effective, let's say you're a high-performing professional, or you've raised a family, or you volunteered in a leadership role, when you apply effort in those arenas, something changes. And often, if you're doing that work or at home, you can track it. It's measurable. You can see progress through the effort that you put in. But when your activism is mostly protest-based, the feedback loop is kind of brutal. And I've talked to a lot of people over the last year for whom this is very much the case. Folks who show up to maybe every protest and yet come to talk to us on a Ripple Effect Institute discovery call saying, I don't understand why I feel like nothing is changing. Because here's the thing about only protesting. You're giving your time, your energy, your central nervous system, and you don't get a clear signal back that anything has actually changed. So you start to wonder if you're being naive, or maybe if things really are hopeless, or maybe if it's just you and you're not capable of doing the thing that actually moves the needle. None of these things are true. The key here is that there's a secret that a lot of protest organizers don't want to share. And it's that what you need is a structure for impact that lives after the march. So that's what we're building here. And what I'm going to do next is I'm going to walk you through 3 steps to do exactly that. 3 leverage moves, if you will, that turn protesting into power. And if you take even one of these seriously, you'll feel a real impact in the next 30 days. Because I'm going to let you in on a little secret. The thing about effective activism is it doesn't just help the people that you're trying to help. It also helps you because it provides proof that you are a part of the solution. And by the way, if you're listening to this and you're thinking, I actually really do want to do something that has a measurable impact attached to it and that I can see and feel is actually working, I want to invite you to book a Ripple Effect Institute discovery call. This is exactly what we do. We help you choose winnable outcomes, map the strategy, and match it to your actual life, your skill set, and your capacity. And we do it all so that you don't burn out after the first initial effort and so that the change that you are building can last. Book your Ripple Effect Institute discovery call at the link below. Step 1, from protest energy to a 90-day outcome. So here's the first shift, and it's a big one in terms of mindset. It's moving from the place of where's the next protest that I'm going to show up to what outcome am I committing to? Because protest energy is real and it is fuel, but fuel without direction just burns out. So I want you to pick one issue that you genuinely care about right now. Maybe it's immigration defense or trans rights or food insecurity or housing justice. Maybe it's voter protection or community safety or a local campaign for a progressive candidate. And then I want you to ask yourself a critical question. What is one outcome that I want to be a part of in the next 90 days that is actually going to help make a real person's life better, safer, or more survivable? Not change the whole system, not fix everything. A real, legitimate, achievable outcome. Something like a weekly food distribution system that feeds 10 of our immigrant family neighbors. Or a monthly immigration clinic that increases its capacity to serve people by 25%. Or maybe a voter engagement project that registers 200 new voters in your area. Or a rapid response team built on Signal that has clear roles and a clear protocol to respond to ICE raids. When you choose a specific outcome, 2 things happen. The first is that you stop feeling helpless because now you have a real target to achieve. And the second is that you stop getting pulled into everything because now you have an effective filter. With every opportunity that comes along where you might be able to make a difference, the question that you have to ask yourself is, does this help my outcome? And if it doesn't, you bless it and you let it go. And someone else will pick up that ball and run with it. And if you're thinking, but isn't that selfish? Doesn't that mean I don't actually care about that issue? No, it doesn't. What it means is that you are choosing an effective lane to lead real community impact. And one of the things that we're really big on at the Ripple Effect Institute is actually creating systems that allow for everyone to participate in their own zone of care or expertise. That's actually how real change gets made. It's also how you create results that last longer than a single news cycle. So let's pause on this. What would it feel like to you if 90 days from now, you could point to something and say, that exists because I helped to build it? Not because you chanted louder at the latest big protest, but because you built something and you built it smarter. That's when activism starts to feel like it's really working. Okay, let's move on to shift number 2. Step 2 is moving from showing up to choosing your lane of leverage. So your activism may not be working yet because you're participating, but you're not yet positioned. So what do I mean by that? What I mean is that participation can be more about where can I help? And positioning is about where can my unique skills make the most difference right now. And if you've been successful in your career or you've raised a family, you have leverage and skills that most movements desperately need right now. Not just passion, but actual skills. You have experience in key areas, you have credibility, Maybe you've got networks that can assist with fundraising. Maybe you've got access to key decision makers where you live in certain arenas. And if you've been successful on the job, you're probably also familiar with things like project management and systems thinking, maybe with communications, maybe even with legal knowledge. And if you've raised a family or run a household, I can pretty much guarantee that you can multitask like a badass to get things done. But there's a trap here when it comes to actually wanting to be effective as an activist. And it's that good-hearted people enter justice spaces and they become generalists. They fill gaps and they say yes, and they become that quote-unquote reliable helper. And that's honorable, don't get me wrong, but it often caps your impact. Because the needs right now and the harm, it's infinite. And if you do not choose a lane, you will get scattered and do nothing as well as you could. And then you'll burn out, or you'll drift away feeling guilty that you never did what you were called to do in terms of making a difference. So I want to give you a simple way to identify your skill sets and your lane. Ask yourself just one simple question. What problems do people consistently hand me because they trust me to solve them? And this is where you start to figure out what you do at work or at home that could actually be a superpower in a social justice initiative. What can you do repeatedly, sustainably, and without needing to constantly run on adrenaline? Because the goal here is not to become a different person. The goal is to aim to be who you already are in service of justice for others. This is the moment where you go from supporter to force multiplier. And this is where your activism actually starts to work. Let me give you an example here from our own clients. We have a fabulous member of the Ripple Effect Institute who was a corporate trainer in his day job. And eventually, when he moved away from working full-time, he started to think about ways that he could make a difference. But he struggled to figure out how his effective skill set as a corporate trainer could be put to work in furtherance of justice. Lo and behold, after a few months of working with us, it became clear that his ability to train others was actually an incredibly effective communication tool in his own local area. It allowed him to educate and train others in how to take action. It gave him a leg up in being able to communicate to his neighbors the policy changes that were needed in their city to push back against ICE. And that eventually led him to be a part of a huge success, a policy change before his city council that stopped any new ICE detention facilities from being built in his city limits. Learning how to use your skills in furtherance of justice is what takes your protest energy and turns it into real positive impact for change. Step 3. From marches to infrastructure. This third shift is what actually creates change that can last for generations. Protesting creates moments, but infrastructure, it creates movements that last. And what most people crave right now, especially in the conditions that we're all living through, is reliability and continuity so that safety is created for the long term. People want something that doesn't fall apart when the adrenaline wears off and the news cycle moves on. And infrastructure can kind of be a scary big word, but what it actually means is that you're planning something that will last. It can mean things like a repeatable volunteer onboarding with an organization that you're helping. It can mean things like clear roles and responsibilities among your neighbors in terms of who's going to respond if ICE shows up. It can mean things like a calendar for mutual aid delivery that gets food into the hands of your needy neighbors before someone is panicking and starving. It can mean a partnership list and an outreach plan, or a fundraising system that's repeatable. And it can mean, most significantly, being a part of a leadership bench that isn't just you or nothing, so that you don't burn out and can keep doing good work. And I want to make this feel a little less intimidating. Infrastructure is not necessarily about a 40-page plan for a huge nonprofit with a massive board of directors. Infrastructure can be as simple as, we run one monthly clinic for housing justice. Here's the intake form. Here's our partner organizations. Here's how you can help. That's infrastructure. And it's the difference between, I went to a protest last month, and every month we help to keep families from getting evicted because we built a system that works. So let's pause. And I want to ask you a really straightforward question. What would it feel like for you to know that the depth of your care has a container? To know that your rage has a direction that is actually creating change? To know that your hope actually has a plan. This is how protesting becomes part of a bigger strategy. Protesting can be the spark, but infrastructure is the engine of change. And let me just give you another example here. One of our clients had showed up at protests for years to try to change things on behalf of LGBTQ Americans, in part because she has a trans child. A turning point came for her when her child no longer felt safe here in the United States. And so rather than continuing to just protest, she decided to take actual action. And now, as a part of the Ripple Effect Institute, she's building an organization that helps to get trans people to safety and away from persecution. Infrastructure is what is allowing her to save lives. So if you take nothing else from this, take this. Protesting has its moments, and it can raise awareness and sometimes call new people to the movement. But alone, it is not enough. Not because it doesn't matter, but because alone it is not designed to carry the full weight of change. And what you need, if you want to create a real measurable impact for good, is an engine that can do exactly that. An outcome that you can hit in 90 days, a lane that uses your actual strengths, and infrastructure that makes your impact repeatable so it doesn't run on your adrenaline alone. And if you're sitting here listening to this and you're thinking, I'm ready, I don't actually just want to attend the moment. I want to be a part of building what comes next. Book that Ripple Effect Institute discovery call at the link below. We'll walk you through what you care about, what you're already doing, what's not working, and we'll help you design a plan to create a real impact in your own community, one that saves and protects and sustains lives. When you do something like that, you're not just signing up for the next event. You're turning your protest energy into real, measurable change. And that, my friends, is how your activism starts actually working. Not someday, but now. Thanks so much for being here, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.